You're one of the guys who's run out there for an opening game on Scott Field before. What have you told your guys to be ready for the first time out?
A lot of excitement, right? A lot of excitement, a lot of jitters, right? You've been practicing against each other for the last month. Obviously, you do some game plan, some scouting stuff, but it's different in front of a full stadium. So just be ready for a lot of excitement. Don't expect to hear much, right? And just go out and execute. This is what we've been waiting on, right? We've been working a long time for this, so it's finally here. Now we just got to go out and execute.
How excited are you to be roaming the sidelines at Davis Wade?
Very excited. It's been a long time. I was just saying, I hope I don't get too emotional, right? But it's what I've always wanted, so I'm excited.
How has your group handled all the adjustments as far as not just catching the ball, but some of them running the football, having to block downfield? How have they kind of handled all of that?
They've been good. Obviously, it's a learning curve, just doing something you're not used to doing. But for the most part, I thought they've handled it well, and they're excited about it, right? It's more opportunity to show what you can do with the ball in your hands, running more routes, moving guys all around. You'll see guys play all over, inside, outside, maybe in the backfield, so it's good for them. Gets to show what they can do with the ball and show their versatility.
You came up in a system where if you didn't block, you didn't play. I mean, how much of that has kind of carried over to Coach Bump?
A lot, right? A lot. You talk about being a complete receiver and not being a selfish guy, right? Everybody wants the ball, right? You want those guys to block so the quarterback has time in the pocket to get you the ball downfield. You got to return the favor when the ball's handed, right? Even when the ball's thrown and it's not to you, go find somebody, make yourself part of the play, right? Go find work. And it's been big for us, right? It's been big. That's how you create explosive plays. The O-line gets it going. If it's going to be an explosive play, we got to block on the perimeter. And they've done a good job.
And along those lines, too, I mean, there's a lot of receivers that's what happens. That last block is thrown by a teammate down the field, 25 yards, sometimes behind the play. So, I mean, have you been able to kind of demonstrate that them in practice or maybe show them on film?
Yeah, absolutely. And you see it on film, right? Most explosives happen because receivers are blocking downfield, right? You got to get the back end guys covered up. And again, you see it as we watch film, the explosive plays come, whether it's thrown downfield or whether it's a handoff, whatever it is, there's going to be some contact downfield. We got to insert ourselves in the play and make sure we're a part of making that explosive happen.
What about the overall health of the room this late in camp? I know we've seen some guys banged up, and just your philosophy about maybe guys who are banged up, maybe not pushing it this early in the season?
Yeah, we've had some. I mean, it's camp. Everybody's had it. But luckily for our group, we got some depth, right? You got a lot of guys who can make plays. So guys are eager to get back because next man up, and these guys have done a really good job of taking advantage of opportunities, right? You get a chance to put stuff on tape, you better make it good because this late in the camp, going into season, right now we got to rep the guys who can help us on Saturday. And when you get that opportunity, make me play you, right? Give me a reason to have you on the field. Make me look stupid if you're not on the field, right? So they've done a good job.
So your rotation subject change as the season goes on?
Based off of health, obviously you want the best guys on the field, but if we're healthy and guys are playing well, we're going to roll them.
How much of that is your decision? I mean, how much autonomy do you have as far as which receivers go in the game?
I think it's a combination of myself and Coach Barbet, right? And what I will say is he trusts me a lot, right? He gives me some freedom to play the guys that we think can do some things for us well. And that's the thing with his offense, all right? What does this guy do well? All right, how can we personnel it and formation it to get him in this spot to do what he does well? And so, I mean, I think it's just a collaboration of really all of us in that offensive room, right? You look at Coach Knox, who's coach receivers. He has some input. You know what I mean? This guy does this really well. Okay, let's put him there on Saturday and see what he can do.
Well, Coach McBath, obviously your group always seems to be in the center of things when it comes to Mississippi State because of the success you've had in recent years. Who's next?
I hope all of them. I mean, we've had a good camp from the young guys. I mean, Bryce Pollock, Pollock, excuse me, and golly, Radar's had a good camp thus far. Kelly Jones had a good camp. I mean, those guys have come on strong as of late. The last 2 weeks of camp really showing what they have once they learned the system and got used to everything. And the older guys, I mean, they kind of picked up where they left off. You know, they're fired up to be in the position they are, right? They're the elders now, and they got to bring the young guys along. So they've done a good job of doing that and kind of taking the leadership role and expanding their game at the same time. So We got a good group, and I'm fired up about them.
With Asias, obviously not a guy who's played a ton of snaps in recent years, but how much have you seen him kind of learn just from being there, being under some veteran guys as he's kind of progressed his career here?
Yeah, I mean, Ferg I love him to death because when we ask him to do something, all right, go in against LSU, right? Start versus LSU, go play football, and he has a heck of a game, right? Go in versus Auburn, right? And you hadn't played a ton of snaps all year, but he was prepared. He always works his tail off, right? And he took the game plan and executed it to a T. So he's a guy that I'm excited to see in a leadership role this year, in a starting role, to kind of see how he expands his game.
Going off of that, what were you looking for in that battle between him, DeCarlos, and other guys in terms of for a guy to separate themselves?
Yeah, like I said, I don't think there's been much separation. I think each guy, every day there's something. They're battling, and they know it. And they're all going to play. And they know that, and they're practicing and showing what they have for playing time. Whoever runs out there first, right? But all those guys have earned playing time, and they're going to play. The coolest thing to me is they all pull for each other and push each other at the same time. So, I got a good group of guys that way.
Speaking of guys that pull and push, DeCamarion, he could have taken this camp and said, I've got the job, but he looks like he's really tried to raise his own game to be that guy that you had for Emerson and then Emmanuel and those guys.
Yeah, he's of the same mold as those guys, just the mental makeup. He doesn't ever want to play off. He wants his reps. He doesn't want to miss practice, doesn't any of that stuff. Doesn't want to miss a period. He thinks every rep is important. He's always trying to get better. So that's just kind of who he is. That's why he's become the kind of player he is right now, because he's worked himself into that role.
How much do you feel like he's developed as a leader now, kind of being the guy in the room?
Yeah, if any of you guys have met him, he doesn't speak a lot, but I've prompted him to do so. You got to break us down within meetings. You got to break us down out here. You got to lead. I'm gonna ask you a lot of questions in meetings, and you got to answer. Stand up in front of the room, let the young guys know how it's supposed to be done, and he's handled it well. He's handled it really well, so I'm proud of him. There's still growth to be had, but he's done a good job.
Speaking of growth, when you have guys that end up with a scout team designation, that obviously some of those guys are disappointed that they're not still with the varsity. As their coach, how do you kind of explain to them the importance of that?
Yeah, I brought a lot of guys in today and had that exact conversation, and what I told them was just kind of the previous guys who have been on scout team, and I include myself, right? I started on scout team when I played, and then you get better on scout team. It's what you plan to get out of it, right? Every day you come to practice, it's about you getting better, you expanding your game, and scout team's just another way for you to expand your game. It's live game reps versus the best offense. So I gave them that speech, and I promise. Today they did a really good job, and every one of them responded the way I wanted them to when we had that meeting. So I got a good group of kids, man, and they just want to be good football players and help this team. So. There's not been any pouting, any whining, and I'm proud of that.
Out of that group, how many do you expect to dress this week? Not just for cornerback, but also special teams duties.
I don't know. That's a Thursday conversation for us. It's Tuesday right now. I got a million things going. I wish I hadn't even thought about that. I hope we can take them all, but I doubt that's the case.
Hunter's been a guy that I guess has worked both in the safeties group and cornerback group. Is that a guy you would like in your group, I guess, this week? Or, is it because they're working hand in hand, it doesn't really matter?
Yeah, anytime you get Hunter Watson, you'd be happy. But this speaks to his versatility, and I think right now for our defense, his best role is where he's at right now. And we're always priding ourselves on getting the best five on the field, and he's one of the more versatile guys, having played both. And it's a great opportunity for him. I'm happy for him.
How much more difficult was that decision this year to get the top five? What was the competition like in that respect?
Yeah, because we got so many guys who are ready to play, I think, that trying to find the right fit for them and what would put them in the best position to be successful was more of a conversation this year. And it's still a conversation as we go through this thing. So it's just kind of a testament to them, how they've worked and how much they've improved.
You may have answered this already, and I know he's young and probably still figuring out where classes are, but Kelly Jones, how's he adjusted so far?
I'm telling you, man, he's one of the best. One of the best young guys I've been around, hungry. He's a sponge, doesn't forget a thing. You tell him one thing, barely mention it to him, and he remembers it, and he'll call you on it. Coach, you told me. Yeah, I'm excited. He's going to be a really good one for us.
Coach, obviously it's a little different dynamic with two offensive line coaches. How do you feel like the guys have kind of absorbed, your insight as well as Coach Friend's?
Yeah, I think it's been good for the group. They're constantly getting hammered at practice. I think practice is a time where that's probably the most important thing because, out there on the field seeing five guys and all that, you don't always see it, being the head O-line guy. And, we've just been splitting up sides, and it's been going good this camp, and hopefully it'll come to fruition as the year continues on.
You have one of the best, probably the closest battles in camp at left tackle with Percy and Dollar. How do you foresee that kind of playing out?
Yeah, I think it's just still playing out, and we're going to continue to push both of those guys to be starters, and and it's going to be a development all the way up until game time here, and hopefully they continue to push each other as the course of the season rolls on.
How much of of course I know he's a key part at guard too, but how much of a safety net is it to have Nick Jones knowing he's played there too and done well?
Yeah, that's critical. Nick's kind of stepped up for us inside too. We were light in the spring on interior bodies, and we felt like he has the skill set and the mindset to adjust inside. And he's done a nice job there. But to have him in the back pocket, in case of emergencies, is always a good sign. And he's done a great job, not only understanding the role inside he has, but staying on top of it mentally to transfer out there and play tackle as well.
With him and Dollar Bill, we've seen a lot of guys on the offensive line that have shifted around, played different spots. Just how much does it help to have, a versatile group all over the line?
Yeah, and I think that's part of it. Not only finding the best five to go out there on Saturday afternoon, but also to develop that versatility because we know how physical this league's going to be in the season, and to be able to build that depth throughout fall camp is another benefit of what you guys see out there at practice.
We see Antonio Harmon listed as slot receiver. Is that just more of a flex tight end for y'all?
Yeah, I mean that's what he is. He's an outside, or he's an inside receiver. He hasn't he's not a box guy or anything like that.
What about Ryland and Spivey? How do you feel like they're obviously this?
Yeah, they're both veteran guys. They've stepped right in. They've taken control of the room, and they're leading. They're the ones helping develop Malik Ellis and Jacarius Clayton, and they've done a good job in that role. And they both do different things, and hopefully we'll see their different skill sets show up on Saturday.
Ryland's talked a lot about wanting to create a culture in the tight end room. I guess just how big is it having a guy like that and Spivey, for a position group that hasn't really been here the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean just what I said. That's been the saving grace we had bringing those two guys in, guys who have bought into the culture, everything that Coach Arnett's saying, and obviously it's reiterated in our room, and they've done a good job passing along that message.
You get a chance to hear the cowbells toll for thee this weekend for the first time. I mean, how eager for you that, and what have you heard about it? What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I'm fired up, man. This is my 13th year coaching, and always dreamed of being in the SEC. And just like a freshman coming in here, I'm just as excited as them. And none of that, we still got to go out there and produce and all that stuff. That's what's really going to get me fired up. But I mean, enjoying those experiences is obviously something me and my family are grateful we get to experience.
Along those lines, you've known Zach for a long time, and you guys go way back. What's it like for you personally to see him be the head coach?
Yeah, it reminds me of when I was back at San Diego State, and me and him were growing up coaching, and Rocky Long was on us, and he ain't much different than him. So a lot of the similarities, and you know what to expect, you know the expectation, and it's your job to meet those expectations.